Assalamu alaikum everybody. Yay, it's working. Alhamdulillah. Right, I'm just going to give a few minutes for people to turn up. Inshallah, today I'm going to be talking about how to remove negative blocks towards success by using creative methods. And I'm going to be really brave today, inshallah, and also share some of my art, if you can call it that, with you as well. I'll just give you a few more minutes, inshallah. Let's see. I'm going to try and experiment here and add people to this if I can. Let's see how it goes. I'm just trying to fiddle with this Facebook Live thing and trying to learn a few things. So let's see what happens if I leave a comment. Anyone there? I can't tell what's going on. Can anyone hear me or see me? Okay, let's start. Never mind. So, Assalamu alaikum everybody, and today's topic, inshallah, is how to remove negative beliefs or emotions or anything that is sort of like what they call blocks. So most of the time we like, especially if you find yourself in a place where you're putting so much effort and you're trying so hard to achieve a certain result but you're not getting anywhere, or like, let's say you really want to lose weight and you decide that this week or whatever your goal is that I'm going to exercise 3 times, but you just find that even though you have the time and you've got the resources, maybe you've got a treadmill, maybe you've arranged certain time and space to do that, you just can't find, you just keep making excuses for yourself, or you keep procrastinating, or oh, who's there? Looks like someone's here. Alhamdulillah. Or you keep making excuses, or you fill that time, that even though you do have the time, you fill that time less. Like sometimes I remember when I used to be at university and I used to have exams, I just used to get really obsessed with cleaning and not really revise. So it's like a form of, it's a form of procrastination, or just filling your time up with other things and not doing what you need to do. And generally when that happens, it's because we've got like some sort of subconscious negative belief about something that is stopping us from moving forward. Assalamu alaikum, Zahra. Oh, alhamdulillah. That's good you can hear me. I'm being brave today. I'm going to share some of my messy collages and art. Anyway, okay, so since this is meant to be like a creative group, I thought I should do something creative. So the first thing I recommend, like if you want to follow this way of doing it, there's so many other ways of removing negative blocks, but this is one way I use and it works for me. So, and if you're into like creativity and you like getting messy and using your hands and getting a bit arty, then this might work for you as well. So the first thing I recommend is to just sit with yourself in silence and think about what you want to do. Like we could do it together now, but there's only Zahra here, but okay, we can try. Zahra, do you want to be my guinea pig? You might have to tell me a few things about your blocks to success. If not, then I'll just be my own guinea pig. But anyway, let me know. Okay, so what you do is, what I recommend is that first off, just okay, so first off, just close your eyes, sit in a quiet place, and just relax and focus inwards. So just try not to think about everything that's around you, and just take some slow breaths in and out slowly. This is what I do. So once you've done that, take a few deep breaths slowly, and then you focus on what it is you're trying to do. So let's say you have a goal in mind, like let's say your target is to get to do 3 Facebook Lives, for example, this week. Let's say that's your target, and but you find that you're not getting around to it, or there's something stopping you. So you just bless you, Zahra. Okay, focus on your breathing and watch it. Okay, so let's say you're trying to do 3 Facebook. I'm trying to be serious here. So let's say you're trying to do 3 Facebook Lives this week. Whatever your goal is, I'm not sure what your goal is, but put your goal in your head and really focus on that goal, and close your eyes and just take a few deep breaths in and out. Really focus in on your breath and think about your goal. And then ask yourself, you really have to like focus inwards and ask yourself, what's stopping me? Okay? Or even you can say your name, like, Maryam, what's stopping you? Okay? And then once you've done that, you can just wait. Don't rush this. You have to be really patient, and you have to be really silent, and you have to really listen to yourself. So just stay quiet and just listen to what comes up, and you'll get some sort of answer. You might get a funny feeling somewhere, or something might come up like, oh, I'm scared, or you might think, like, a common one is, I'm not good enough, or anything could come up. But just really, like, the important part is, like, at the beginning to just like breathe in slowly and just focus inwards, and don't try to rush it, and then just ask yourself, like, what's stopping me from my goal? And then just wait for the answers to turn up, whatever the answer is from within. Now, if you're not into all that deep breathing and everything, another way you can try is to get your journal out and just write down, I want to do this, whatever your goal is. And then write down, do I really want to do this? And then just wait for what comes up and write down what your answers are. And then say, what does it really, really mean to do this, what I'm trying to do? And see what comes up and write it down. And then as you get the answers, you can like ask yourself more questions about, like, why do I, let's say something comes up like, I want to do it, but I feel like I'm not good enough, or I want to do it, but I feel like I'm scared, or I want to do it, but this. Then work with that and like ask yourself, why am I scared, or whatever. But just ask a couple of questions and really dig down. So that's the first part of this. So you just have to sit down with yourself, either with a journal or by deep breathing, whatever works for you, and really focus in on what you're trying to do and ask yourself a few questions. And then what you do is, like, whatever comes up, like, for example, for me, when I set this group up, I'm going to show you my live examples of what I did. So when I set this group up, 2 things, I was like doing really well at the start, and then I felt like this, yeah, it felt like a block, like I just didn't want to come on the group anymore. I didn't want to do any more lives, and I felt like my energy went down as well, and I was just like really confused about what's going on. So then I did this exercise where I tried to focus in, and then I wrote about success and why I don't want to be successful, or what's stopping me. And the 2 things that came up for me was, one was that it's kind of like I was scared that I'm not good enough, and then the other one was, and the funny thing is they're quite opposite. One was like, I'm scared that I'm not good enough, and the other one was like that I'm too much. Yeah, I'm not capable is one for me. Yeah, that's a common one. Like, we think we're not good enough, or we don't have the ability, or we don't have the skills, we don't have the talent, or we don't have enough knowledge. Basically, all comes down to being like not enough in some way. So that's a common one. So mine was that I was scared that, yeah, okay, yeah, those are good ones to work with, Zahra, and you definitely want to bust them now before you go further in your journey. So if you, yeah, just carry on listening, and I'll show you what I do. So this is what came up for me. Like, one was like, I'm scared that nobody's going to find me inspiring. Nobody's going to think I'm good enough, or I'm just not, yeah, like I'm just not the right person for this. And the second thing that came up was like, because I know that when I get into something, I'm like really energetic and really excited, and like I sometimes feel like, oh, I'm overwhelm people, because most people are not like that. Like, they're quite like low tone, and I found over the years that I'm like, and I felt like I was too much. So that was the two things that came up for me. One was like I'm too much, I'm too like energetic, I'm too like talking about this, that, and the other, and I've had too many ideas, and I've got too many this and too much this, and it all boiled down to being too much. And the other idea, so there was two things. One was like being scared, and the second one was being too much. So once you've got to something, like for example, Zahra, you could just use, oh, I'm not capable. You could just use that and focus in on that. And then what you do is you get some magazines, and the next part you don't think about. You know how with the first part I was saying to you, you need to like really sit with yourself and ask yourself questions. But for the second part, for this part, once you've got to some sort of an answer, like, oh, I'm a failure, or I'm not good enough, you say to yourself, you stop thinking about it, and you just sort of go into you follow your intuition. And I'll just show you my magazines actually, because I need them for this part. Okay, so these are my magazines. Jazakallah, Zahra. Okay, so for the second part, once Zahra, now that you've got to your, let's say yours is I'm not capable, what you do is you get some magazines out, and like I recommend that if you want to do this on a regular basis, that you buy a few different magazines, like travel, home, family, mom and baby, wedding, cars, anything. Like, just collect a few different magazines which are related to different things. Yoga, what else have I got? I've just got some fashion ones, a few different ones basically, but just buy a few different magazines. And what you do is you focus in on this feeling that you're having. So for example, if it's not capable, okay, so mine was, oh, I'm too much. So I focused in on that, I'm too much, okay. So focus in on that feeling, wherever it is. And you might find when you do the deep breathing exercise, you feel it in a certain part of your body. Like, focus in on that, like, okay, I feel like I'm too much, and it's here, this feeling. So focus in on the feeling and really get into it, and just feel it inside yourself, like, okay, I'm too much, just feel it. And then get your magazines, and then this part, don't think about it too much. Just get your magazines out, and don't like look at them too closely. So for example, this is a magazine. Don't look at it too closely. Just sort of flick through it at a distance, and just flick through it. And if there's any image that sort of stands out to you, so I'm thinking I'm too much, and then suddenly I see an image and it sort of like stands out to me, or it hits my subconscious at some level, then what I'll do is I'll just tear it out, or I'll cut that image out and put it to the side. And you just flick through it, carry on. Or there might be like some words that stand out to you. So you just pick out the words, you cut them out, and you put them to the side. And that's what you do. And you might find that you might go through a whole magazine and might not find any images that stand out to you. Or you might go through one magazine and find about 5 or 6 images, and it doesn't really make a difference. But and resist the temptation to, sometimes you find something, like let's say I'm thinking I'm too much, and then I find like an image which I think, hey, like I'll show you actually on my example, when I show you my example, sometimes you might find an image which stands out to you, but then like let's say it's an apple, and you, like there's an apple on here, let's say that stands out to you and you feel like cutting it out, but then you look at it, don't think about it. Like if you think about it and think, oh, I don't want to cut, what's the apple got to do with me being too much? I'm not going to cut that out, that doesn't make sense. Don't think about this part. Like if anything stands out to you, just cut it out. Zahra, so the images need to be associated with our blocks. No, that's what I'm trying to say. Like don't try to pick images that fit with your block. Just focus in on the feeling of your block. Whatever your block is, focus in on that inwardly, and then just let your eyes relax and just pick out anything that stands out to you. So if you thought about it consciously, like let's say an apple stood out to you, if you really thought about your block and you thought about an apple, you'd be like, okay, that doesn't even link up, so I'm not going to cut it out. But don't think about it. Like if it stands out, just cut it out anyway. Does that make sense, Zahra? Okay, I'll wait for you to reply. But anyway, I'll carry on. So just go through a few magazines, and no, you don't have to like it. It might stand out to you because you like it, or it might stand out to you because you don't like it, or you might not have any particular feeling to it. It might just stand out to you, and just cut it out anyway. So the point is to just relax your eyes. Don't try to look for anything. Just relax your eyes and sit back and just look at the magazine from a distance, and just pick out whatever stands out to you. So what we're trying to do here is, what happens is when you do that, your subconscious mind comes into action more, because your subconscious mind is related to images more than your conscious mind. So if you try to think about it and try to pick things that link up, then you're using your conscious mind and you're trying to fit images into your picture. So you're trying to tell yourself how you should feel about a certain thing. Whereas if you just stand back and just pick anything that stands out, then you're letting your subconscious mind pick out anything that it wants to pick out. And that works better, because all our blocks and negative beliefs sit in our subconscious mind. So they're at the back of our minds. And we can't, if we try to focus on them and think about them, sometimes we don't grasp what they're about. But if you relax and let the subconscious mind just pick anything, it works better. Or any that stands out. Yes, any that stands out. Alhamdulillah. So I managed to get that point across. Okay. So collect some images and any words or anything that stands out to you. And then make a collage. So let me show you mine, which was about too much. So I did this exercise, and one of the things that came up for me was I'm too much. And this is what my collage looks like. Can you see it? Okay. Da-da. I'm trying to like move it slowly. Okay, so when I was doing this, some of the images I cut out and then I just stuck on. For example, I'll show you actually. And then you just make it, and then once you just collect all your images and any words. So I've got what's new on there, I've got kindred spirits, I've got a little quote, and I've just stuck them on anyhow. So just put your collage together and just stick it on. Yeah. So I'm going to show you how, like, so for me, I was thinking like, when I was doing it, one image that showed up was this image here, like of a couple, and it stood out to me. And first I was like, I cut it out, and then I was like, what's that got to do with too much? And I put it to the side and I didn't think about it. But then I remembered what I'm supposed to be doing, so I just put it on anyway. And so once you've done this, what you have to do once you've done it is just let it rest. Sometimes you'll find that once you've finished, you actually like it starts making sense to you, and you start seeing some patterns, or you start seeing something that pops out and something that starts making sense, like, oh my god, that's why I was thinking that, or that's why I was thinking this. And other times you'll find that you just look at it and you think, like, literally you think, what the hell is that? Like, That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. How is all that linked to being too much? And you won't understand it at all. And that's fine. Don't get perplexed by that. Once you've done it, sometimes you'll just need to leave it be for like, let's sleep on it and then think about it the next day. But slowly your mind will work on it and you'll get some ideas. Other times you'll finish and then you look at it and it'll like almost like immediately start making sense. So for me, so I'll give you an example. Like I was saying, this image here of kindred spirits, the word kindred spirits and this image here, when I first, it did stand out to me when I was focusing on this idea of being too much. And I was like thinking, what's that got to do with anything about being too much? But then later I realized that for me, it's like most of the people I know around me are like not very happy in their relationships. And for me, like being almost like being too happy in a relationship, like it just sounds so absurd, doesn't it? Like too happy, like what's that about? But like being too happy or too close or being too much of a kindred spirit, then that's like something that it shouldn't happen. Like it's dangerous. Like that was a negative belief I had. Or then if you see this like woman standing here who looks really fit and athletic, one of the things I noticed, which I had never picked up on before, like was that I always have this problem where I really love exercising, I love eating healthy, but whenever I started exercising and eating healthy, I'd do it for like 3-4 weeks and actually like would tone up a little bit and start looking a bit good and feel a bit better, and then I'd just suddenly stop. Like that's always been the pattern. Like I'll do it, I'll get a bit toned up, I'll lose a bit of weight and I'll think, ooh, I look good, and then I'll just stop. And I realized that that was all like coming from the same belief. Like if I'm looking too good and if I'm looking too fit and if I'm eating too healthy, then I don't want to like make other people feel uncomfortable, because if I'm like, yeah, it doesn't even make sense, you know what, like, but this is what negative beliefs are. They don't make sense, but it's so funny that we believe them and it doesn't even make sense. But that's what my negative belief was. Like if I like get too fit, then like other people will feel uncomfortable about themselves, and like who am I to look so good? And so like subconsciously that's what I was doing to myself. So that's why every time I got close to my goals, I just used to stop. And the funny thing is, like a few of the different things in here, like I knew from school and from college, like I always used to be first in class. Like I always used to get top marks, and like to the extent that one time when we had exams in school, I was like so determined that this semester I'm just not going to come first. I don't want to come first, because I just used to feel like without putting any energy into my work or without even making that much effort, I just used to come first. And I was like so determined that, okay, this time I don't want to come first, because I wanted to make myself like, it doesn't even make sense, subhanallah, but I wanted to fail so that next time I feel like, oh no, I need to work and I need to study hard to come first. So I know that, and there was like people around me as I grew up who told me like, oh, I'm arrogant, or like, oh, I think I'm too clever, or I talk like I know everything. And maybe they just felt insecure because I suppose they thought I was intelligent, even though I didn't think that about myself. But because everyone reacted in that way, I associated that with negativity. Like I associated being too intelligent and too clever as being something negative, like something that makes other people feel uncomfortable. And I sort of recognized it in that area, like in that area of like being outspoken or saying your opinions or having intelligent opinions about things. I recognized that that's where that kind of negative belief came about being too much. But I never realized how it had like infiltrated all these other areas in my life. Like even this, like this image here, for me, like that means like being like holy and being like spiritual. And I never realized, like, even in that area, I was like sort of holding myself back because I didn't want other people to feel like, feel uncomfortable. But when I did my collage, and afterwards, when I looked at the different bits, that's when it all came to me, like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing, and that's what that means, and that's what that means, and that's what this means. And then as soon as I understood it, then it made it so much easier for me to do the things I want to do. Like now when I've started exercising again, now I know, like, in 3-4 weeks time, when like I have that phase where I just want to stop, I know what the reason is for that. So I'm not going to let it happen, because now I know what the negative belief is. And like now it's in my conscious mind, like I can actually say it, I can think it, I know what it is. Now I know how to stop it. I can like write an affirmation to oppose it. I can think of so many logical ways of how it doesn't make sense. Whereas before it was hidden from me and it was in my subconscious mind. I didn't even know what's happening and how it was affecting me. So that's the reason why this helps. Or like even this lady who's wearing like a yellow dress. Like I'm wearing a yellow scarf today. But like when I was younger, I used to love really bright colors. And then like I had this phase like a few years ago where I just used to wear grey, black and brown all the time. And it's going back to the same thing. Like I didn't want to stand out too much. Like, oh, I'm too much. I shouldn't stand out. I shouldn't wear bright colors. So it's like all these things just came up for me. And when I looked at the collage, like after a short while, then it all started making sense. I won't go through all of them, but they all mean something for me. But when you do yours, that's how you do it. And then once you've done your collage, then go back to your journaling exercise. So get your diary or your journal out and write about it, and write about your images, and write about the ideas that came to your head and what they mean. And sometimes you might have to sleep on it and think about it for 1 or 2 days, and then think about what's come up for you. Like it might not make immediate sense. And even sometimes it's helpful to find someone else to look at your images. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Khadija. Like sometimes I ask Sister Khadija to look at my images for me and help me out with that, because she's my coach, by the way. So again, if you need, like, sometimes it is helpful to get someone else, like even in the group you could post your image and get some ideas. Like I'm part of some art journaling groups, and sometimes I post my collages there and get ideas from other people and feedback on what they think. So that's just a few things you can try. But generally you will find that if you let it settle for a while, you will get ideas in your head about how it all links up and what the images mean to you, or what they represent to you. And it doesn't always make sense. Like what an image represents for me will not be the same as what an image represents for you. It's individual, because it's just different experiences that we've had in our life, in our childhood, and each of us has different images. For each of us, different images are associated with different things. So in that way, when you do your collage, just sit with it and let the images sink in and let the ideas come up for you. And then journal about them and write about them, and then you'll come to some realizations. And when you come to your realizations, then you will like be more able to logically negate those negative beliefs, or get rid of them, or write down positive beliefs to replace them. But before I did this exercise, I just had this vague idea of being too much. But I didn't know how it was affecting all these different areas of my life, or how it was working for me, or what it was doing for me. So after I did this, it started making sense. Okay, and I'll show you the other one actually. I'm not going to go through that one in detail, but the scared one, this one. Okay, this is quite personal stuff. Anyway, I'm going to be brave. So this is the scared one. And it's just about like this lady. If you see, it's like women like dressed in different colors and different clothes, and just for me this one was about like feeling awkward, just feeling awkward about who I am, and feeling like out of place, and not being sure about who I am and how to show myself to the world. So it was just like, when I thought about it a lot more. And like this one up here, like the bear's eating the fish, and then funnily half the fish is there and the tail is over here. So it's like split identity, or almost feeling like you don't know what to do, and you feel like scared, or like you feel in danger showing your real self, or you feel awkward about who you are and about your like who you're meant to be, and whether you're good enough or not, and all these kind of thoughts. But it all comes up to the surface once you've done the exercises. Like before that, you kind of struggle with the thoughts, but you don't know how to overcome them. But once you've done it, then it comes up more. Sister Khadija, mashallah, sis, love how you're stepping up and sharing your journey and wisdom with others. You are too much, but in all the good ways. Mashallah, and we need every bit. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah, sis. Okay. Anybody have any questions? I'll feel free to, like, I know it feels a bit like vulnerable and a bit scary to share stuff like that, but as you know, we have to be brave, and one step at a time. Like, every time you be brave and you share something, you'll get braver the next time. And that's what I found with myself as well, like on this journey of like finding out who I am and stepping out into my best self. I found that every time I get a little bit more brave and do something a bit new, like do my first Facebook Live, share my first piece of art, share my first poem. And the funny thing is, like, we all think, oh, it's just me who feels like this. Like, it's just me who feels like I'm not good enough and I'm a failure. But actually, when you share it, you'll find that there's so many people out there who are feeling the same way. And by you sharing it, they get the courage to share their feelings, and then it normalizes it. And when it feels normal, you feel more able to overcome that feeling. So I would love to see some of you do this exercise, and I would really appreciate it if you shared your collages with us maybe, and we can all have some ideas and thoughts about it and see what we come up with. Yeah. Zahra, it helps. You've helped me be a lot braver since I met you. Alhamdulillah. Okay, do you have any questions, anybody? Anything about how to do the exercise or anything like that? No? Sister Khadija saying so true, and we all rise together. Yes, alhamdulillah. Like, I really believe in like sisters standing for each other and helping each other out. Like the old idea of like, we're not in competition, we're like together, like we're supporting each other and holding each other up. That's what we're here for. We're not here to like compete or stand out more than anyone else, and we're here to support each other on that journey and hold each other's hands towards Jannah, inshallah. That's my vision for the group, and I hope you all have the same spirit. I'm going to end it there, inshallah. May Allah remove all our negative beliefs and help us towards success. If you have any questions later on, just hashtag like negative belief, like just put a hashtag NB question, and just leave a question, and then that way it'll be easier for me to find in the group. So just put hashtag NB question, and if you have any questions about this exercise, or if you don't understand anything about it, then I'll explain it to you. And once again, if you do the collages or anything like that, then please share. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.